Welcome to On the Spectrum. I'm your host, Terri Matthews, and this is the show where we inform you, entertain you, and yes, educate you about all things autism. We like to call it Prescription TV. Joining me today for our do-it-yourself project is our in-house expert, Stephanie Graaf, who's going to show us how we need to use both sides of our brain. So Stephanie, I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
As I always am. I mean, our
you.
audience absolutely loves you.
Thank you.
So there's this concept that, the producers and I were talking about called brain fitness.
Yes.
And this is where we're supposed to use or exercise both sides of our brain.
Yes.
Explain it to me.
So how do we do it?
Yes.
So by using both sides, so we have to remember that we have, and I would never come without my science lesson. So here you see a model of the brain, right? And you have two sides of the brain.
The right hemisphere, the
and
left hemisphere.
You got it. And each of those hemispheres controls different functions of how we learn, how we move, how we think, and show our emotions. But there's an amazing structure in there called, big word, Corpus Callosum. And what that is
CC, y'all, CC.
It is the superhighway that connects both sides of the brains. It's basically the telephone line connecting the right side to the left side.
Oh, Corpus Callosum.
Yes. So when we activate both sides of our brain, so when we do activities where we're moving our hands from one side of our body to the other, so I'm starting on my right, moving over to the left, things are firing in there.
On both sides?
On both sides. And that corpus callosum is lighting up and firing and saying, thank you very much, you're working me out.
That's pretty dope. So how do we know we're using both sides? Because I hear this concept of like, we're only using one side. Some of us are right brain, we're left brain. What does that actually mean?
So, from a motor standpoint, and I speak from my experience as a physical therapist, I can see so when we're developing as infants, around 2 to 4 months, we start to see babies take a toy and they'll exchange it to the other side. Okay?
That's true.
So they're exploring their environment. They're working both sides of the body. This translates into higher level skills like crawling, where you're using both sides of the body. And then eventually walking, where you're using both sides of the body.
Okay.
And that sets foundation. You know me, I'm always about those foundational skills, sets up the foundational skills needed for higher level functions like emotional control, attention, focus, and higher level motor skills.
So all of those are important for our kids, and how do we utilize exercises so that our kids are using both sides of the brain?
Okay, so we are going to do a variety of little tasks here today, and we're going to end up making a really cool racetrack, these are just play experiences.
So this is not a brain.
Not a brain. And it's all about the play experiences, and what I want parents and educators and people to gain from this segment is having a good surveillance eye, right, of how that child is integrating both sides of the body in their play skills. So if you see, as an early intervention therapist, if I see a baby preferring really just to use this side and I don't see them crossing over to the other side to put the toy into the bucket per se, or the Lego over to the other side, a red flag will go up in my brain and say, oh, that baby's really not integrating both sides of the body.
Okay.
And what we do know about our kids with autism through scientific research is that this area, this corpus callosum that I spoke of, that is the superhighway to the hemispheres, is definitely underdeveloped and not matured in individuals with autism.
Wow.
So we do know that.
Corpus callosum, that's a word, you guys. Now, not that you all have to go out there and be
Right.
scientists, but it's important that you understand
Right.
that, because I think it's important even when we're talking to our physicians and doctors
Absolutely.
that they have an understanding that,
that the
we're just
research
not-
supports that, listen, these kids do not have the most refined or sophisticated corpus callosum of the neurotypical child.
Okay.
So we tend to see delays in our motor
And
skills.
everybody who doesn't have a refined corpus callosum isn't autistic either, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. You got it.
We're learning.
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
so show me how this works, and let's build this
So,
racetrack.
well, you want to build the racetrack, or you just want me to show you another example too? I think this is just a fun thing you can do in your kitchen. If you're cooking dinner, you can get and set your child up.
This
so
is
imagine
awesome.
this as a refrigerator, right?
First of all,
Magnetic.
this is a cookie
tray.
sheet.
And you can certainly do it with a cookie sheet if you don't have a magnetic refrigerator. But this is a really simple sorting activity, right? That you can set up for your child either at the refrigerator or on the table, and they have to identify all the red letters, right?
That's
so you
pretty
want to make sure
cool.
they're using both hands because you're bringing things into midline.
Okay.
And I'm a right-handed person, so I'm starting on my right and I'm moving over to my left side, starting with the right, moving over. Now on a refrigerator, you have a larger surface area. So
Right.
you're really getting them to move from side to side.
Okay.
So that's a simple example. Or you can just get painter's tape, same thing, moving over from right to left or left to right.
Now, just because I'm seeing you use these tongs, right? Do they have to use these tongs?
No, you can use your hands.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
just
pretty
like
cool.
this because it reinforces the use of both hands together at the same time.
She's such a physical therapist. So in this case, I could say, okay, Jaden, take the will, okay, or take the goldfish and move it from this side to that side.
Right, exactly. But sometimes our kids know how to cheat and they compensate. So sometimes I might put a little oven mitt where they can't use that hand very well.
This
and I'll
is like a
say,
baseball glove.
and I'll say, just use this hand. Or then I'll switch it over. Just use that hand.
So like this. Use your left hand?
No, without the tongue.
Oh my gosh, really?
So you're forced to use just with the left hand. So if I have a little baby or a child that I'm seeing, oh, they're primarily using that right side, I want them to use that left side, I might do something like this to force them to use that left side.
So this is not only educational, but it's also an exercise.
It is.
And does this help your child begin to use both sides of the brain?
It does. It
Okay.
does. Yes.
And is this only for kids? Is this the only kid activity?
No.
Can you do this with adults?
Oh, absolutely.
What about even people who might have been in a car accident
Yes,
or had
so
brain injury?
activities that definitely foster bilateral, we call it bilateral, both sides of the body, bilateral movement, yoga, swimming, bike riding, they're all wonderful recreational adult activities that people can do to do their brain fitness.
So that should be a write-off for anybody who's taking yoga. It's a medical need. Okay.
It
so
is.
let's talk about this racetrack.
Yeah, so my son very kindly did a prototype for me. So what's nice about this is, you know, again, imagine your body two sides, right? So we always start with the X, and basically it's like an infinity symbol. This size could be used for floor time play. Setting it up on the floor, having your child move your vehicle around, and again, they're going from one side of the body to the other side of the body, up to the other side and around. So they're incorporating both sides of the body.
So you
in
would
their
lay
play.
this down and just have them
Yep.
follow the
So on
track.
the market, there's lots of these big car mats or
Yeah.
all kind, but this is a very low cost, inexpensive way that you're getting therapeutic value in play.
We're all about low cost. So for those of you like me, Jaden has a map upstairs in his room, and it's amazing. It looks like a little
Yes,
city.
yes.
So you can utilize that. And if that's not something that you have, or you don't want to spend the $100 to get one, you can create one on a poster board.
Right, and we're actually going to create today a on-the-go one. So this is something that you can recreate for a restaurant, for table, you know, dinner table time, for just a time where you need your child to quiet down while you might be making dinner. So you're going to make basically, you start with an X. I always think an X in the middle.
Okay, here's an X.
And then you're going to make your
Let's move this so our audience
infinity
can see.
sign. There you go.
I'm an actual artist, you guys.
Good.
Check that out.
And then it's up to you, whatever you want to include in your racetrack.
Okay, so here we would do with the green trees. I don't know, this is a building.
Or you can have your child do this. This is a great activity for you to do together.
And then basically this would be, yeah, because they're always carrying something.
Right.
Oh,
So they're
this
working.
is awesome.
Yep.
Now, would you recommend that they switch hands?
Yep, they can switch hands, they can, and the bigger it is, the better, because then they're really making those big excursions across the body.
Stephanie, this is an awesome project. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for coming
Thank
on
you.
today
Thank
and
you.
showing us how to use the CC.
Yes, Corpus Callosum.
I'm going to have that before the end of this show.
Yes.
Thank you so much again. So
You're
if you're
welcome.
interested in trying this project at home, would like to be a guest on our show, or have a show idea, please log on to www.onthespectrum.tv. Don't miss an episode by subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time on The Spectrum.